All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand on this side of the camera, and you can just look at me the whole time that we're talking, okay? I may even kind of kneel down here just to get on kind of eye level with you. All right, so first, just kind of tell me how you've been celebrating your new state championship. How's it felt this last week?
I mean, it's felt pretty good. I've gotten so many congratulations from all my teachers, friends, and family. I mean, it's definitely a big win in my life and my family. I mean, my parents are so proud of me, and it's great to hear that from them, and definitely my coaches too.
Yeah.
I mean, I've just been so happy, jumping around everywhere, that I'm just glad that I did it.
Can you tell me, so you mentioned going from homeschool to public school. Have you always lived around Iowa City? Like, were you homeschooled around here, or have you moved around or anything?
Yeah, kind of. I lived in Iowa City, and then I kind of moved to Coralville. But
okay.
Yeah, I went to kindergarten first, and then we decided that I was going to get homeschooled. I was talking a little bit too much in elementary school, so I got moved to homeschool, and then my mom was like, can't teach math after 6th grade, we're going to put you back into junior high, and I was doing pretty well.
Really? So was that the biggest factor of just doing homeschooling, just a little bit too rambunctious over there in public school?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I got so bored all the time. I was like, I already know this stuff. I want to talk. I want to talk to people. This is boring. What am I doing? But apparently you can't do that in school while my teacher is talking too. So we got a little bit in trouble, but it's just how I've always been that way.
Yeah. How's the transition been back then? Have you been a little bit better at not talking to your peers in class?
Oh, yes,
okay.
Definitely. I definitely don't talk as much as I used to. Of course, I still have my personality. I still talk as much as I possibly can. But when my teachers are talking, I respect them and let them talk and teach. Yeah. So I know what I'm doing in class.
Yeah. So tell me about when you first got into competing, when you thought that athletics might be an avenue or something that you would want to pursue.
Of course. I started athletics when I was 10 because I got my first pair of running blades and walking blades that were good for me from ABR, which is Amputee Blade Runners. And they pretty much just gave me a set of blades, and they were like, I mean, these are made for pretty much anything. You can run, you can do softball, soccer, lacrosse, and literally anything you want. And I was like, okay, so let's try a few sports out. So I tried as much as I possibly could. I did soccer, I did lacrosse for a little bit, I did cheer, dance, I did basketball, and of course I did track. And me and my parents, we just were like, I think this is a sport. And I have been doing track since I was 10.
Really? What was it about track that really connected with you, that made that the one that you were so drawn to?
I mean, first of all, it was just the community. It was like, I just enjoyed being around track people, and they just amazed me, and how, like, people always think that track is just so easy because it's just running on a track, but it really isn't. It takes a lot of mental and physical strength to do it, and I was just like, wow, I want to try this. And it was a lot, and it was really hard at first, but I don't know, I felt so good, and it was like, it took me away from the rest of the world, and I just couldn't think of anything else.
Yeah. Do you still do any other sports, or is track your main one right now then?
I do triathlons. They are my main sport. Classification, which is pretty much just putting people with disabilities in specific divisions, it got a little complicated a few years back ago. So I moved to a sport where I think could be better fit for my disability. And but it still combines running, which is what I've been doing, because I was like, Mom, I have to continue running. I've put so much hard work into this, and I still love it. So I started triathlon, so triathlon is my main sport, but of course I want to continue track.
Where do you compete in triathlons then? Like, do you have to travel out of state, or are there enough in Iowa that you're able to compete in regular triathlons?
Yes, I do have to travel. I mean, I'm on Team USA's development, USA's triathlon team, but so that does allow me to travel. a lot of triathlons are up in Chicago, so it's kind of easy, so it's closer. But I've done ones kind of all over. But there's a few in Iowa because, you know, you have like the little lakes in Iowa that I can swim in for the open water swim, and it's pretty flat around here, so it's it's pretty good for triathlons. But yeah, there's some local ones that are really nice to go to just for starting and stuff.
I know that the Iowa, at least on the boys' side, has just recently added the para events for state swimming. Have you done swimming or anything for girls?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
I was one of the first years to do girls swimming along with boys. Yeah, it started 2 years back ago when I was, well, technically last year when I was a freshman, and that's when they opened it up for us. And yeah, I did it both years, and it was pretty cool.
Win those state championships too?
Of course.
You're building quite an impressive trophy case now. So I'm surprised at how young you got into doing track and field or athletics. I mean, was there something even before that made you want to get into sports, or was it something that your parents wanted for you, or how did that even start with you?
I have a ton of siblings. I am one of the younger ones. I have 8 other siblings, and I am the second youngest.
Okay.
I got to see them in high school because I was just a little kid when they were in high school, and my oldest sister did track and field, and she also did cross country when she was in high school with Parker, and I saw her training hard, and she had the motivation to always go up for early morning practices and stay after school for such a long time. And my siblings always went on runs, and they always did sports together, and I was just like, I want to do this with my siblings. I want to be with the crowd. I want to spend time with my siblings and have a good time. And they really just struck my interest into sports because I didn't think I could ever do sports, and they were doing all these kind of sports because they all did different things, and yeah.
So from an early age, it seems like did they encourage you to try it, or did you ever think, just with somebody that had disabilities, that you wouldn't be able to do it, or was that something that you knew kind of early on that you'd be able to kind of work through that or persevere through that?
Definitely as a little kid, because I'm adopted. Me and my parents did not think I'd be able to do sports. We went on a lot of family hikes. We were very active, and it was a little harder for me to walk around. I still was able to go, but I was just slow, and I was holding back the family from trying to go and do more things. And it just wasn't gonna be something I was gonna be able to do, and it was something I really wanted to do. So me and my parents did absolutely everything we could to make it happen, because my siblings were like, and if you want to do it, then you gotta go for it. You can't just sit around and be, oh, I wish I could do this. No, you gotta be like, I'm going to do this. So yeah, my siblings and parents definitely pushed me to try for it.
Do you still hold them back, or are you the one leading the way when you go on hikes and stuff now?
Not to be cocky or anything, I'm definitely the one leading the pack. They all they're older now, so they all have jobs and stuff, and I'm still in high school doing all these things. So yeah, I try to be the lead of the pack, but I still have siblings in high school, so I got to run for my money.
Were you good at track right away? Did it take a lot of time and effort for you to be able to get comfortable with your blades, get comfortable out on the track, or was that something that you felt like, did it come naturally to you when you started working with those?
With my blades, it didn't take me too long to get into them. Obviously it was a little bit of a weird situation. I was just like, whoa, I'm a little off balance here. Never been in these before, and I was just like, okay, we're gonna do this. And definitely I was not good at track when I started. No, not at all. I was probably running like really, really slow times. But I trained my butt off like crazy when I was a little kid. I was constantly going to strengthening classes. I was going to every track camp I possibly could as a kid. And my parents, like anytime they'd be like, hey, there's this thing, do you want to try for it? You don't have to, because, normally I'd be on my summer break, and I'd be like, no, sign me up, let me be there, I'm going to be there, I'm going to show up every day, and I'm going to try my hardest. Parker hosted a track camp when I started running, and my mom was like, hey, Hannah, do you want to try this running thing? And I was like, yeah, of course. Like, sign me up, because all my siblings were going. And I was like, yeah, sign me up. I mean, I know I'm only like 10, but I want to go for this. Let me try it too. I wasn't good. I could barely get out of the blocks, but all my family, my siblings, and Parker, they all pushed me, and they're like, I mean, Hannah, if you want to, you just do it, right?
Yeah, you've talked about a lot of the people that have kind of helped you along the way. Is there any one or two people or anybody in particular that really has helped you or motivated you or pushed you, supported you the most among, you know, whether it's Coach Parker or your siblings or your parents, anybody like that?
I would definitely say my parents and my coaches. It definitely takes a lot out of me just as like a teenage girl to do all this stuff. And I mean, my parents, they've always done absolutely everything they could for me, and they've given me the opportunity to be able to even be on this track and to do all these things. And obviously Parker and all my other coaches, this weekend was a lot for me, and they were there for me instantly, and they were just like, they were supportive, they were motivating, and they were just like, Hannah, you have trained so hard for this weekend. You just gotta go out there and show them what you can do. And even though I was running by myself, no competition on some of them, I was just like, they're right. I gotta show them what I got. I gotta show them that I am better than what they think I can do. And yeah, I mean, my coaches and my parents have done absolutely everything for me, and I couldn't say, I don't know what else I could do for them for that.
Do you get that sense from outsiders that there are a lot of people that maybe would doubt your abilities right away?
Oh, definitely. I think a lot of people, when they look at me, they think, oh, she's an easy target. Oh, she wouldn't be able to beat me. I mean, they look at me right away and they just assume, oh, poor little girl, she can't do any of these things. And I mean, I definitely surprised a lot of people. I think I mean, I was just talking to my teammates this past weekend, and they're like, I constantly heard people behind me saying, oh, wow, she's actually decent. Oh, wow, she can get out of blocks. And I'm just like, I mean, yeah, that's the thing. I just showed them. I showed them what I can do. I gave them Hannah.
Do you do cross country or anything like that? I mean, I was so impressed with you doing the 800 even that I was like, gosh, can she go longer? Do you do longer events?
I did cross country in junior high. Okay. Grass isn't really the easiest thing for me to run on with my blades. It allows me to trip a little bit more, but since unfortunately cross country and swimming are in the same season, and I'm trying to open up the swim, like ambulatory races a little bit more and help them with that. And especially since I am training for triathlon, that kind of helps me train for triathlon outside of season. But if they weren't during the same time, I definitely would do cross country. But I can run longer distances. I mean, triathlon, I have to run 3 miles because I currently am trying to train for Paralympics one day. And the Olympic and Paralympic distance is a 3-mile run at the end. So yes, I can. I training for an Ironman one day.
Really?
Yeah.
And when you say Ironman, is that like a full Ironman, you know, the marathon, or is there a different like para division for Ironman?
No, I mean an Ironman. Okay. I mean, I'm just gonna go for it. It's gonna be hard, but one day I feel like that would just be such a cool thing to say to people. Oh, I did an Ironman, and I mean that's gonna be a shocker for people.
I mean, you say that, but even what you're doing right now seems like it'd be still pretty cool to tell people. I mean, have you thought about that? Just that winning these state titles and being the first of your class to do these para divisions, that seems like already is pretty cool to tell people, yeah? I
mean, yeah, I've never been the type of person to think that a big thing is so big. I've always thought they were bigger and bigger things I can chase after. I mean, this was such an awesome, and it was pretty huge experience. I mean, there were so many people in the crowd, but I mean, I try to dream big, and I try to chase after larger and larger and larger after whatever I've already chased.
Did you think, I mean, even when you started getting into athletics, did you think there'd ever be a place for you in Iowa? Because I mean, done wheelchair races for a long time, but I don't know if you ever used a wheelchair or anything. So did you think that you'd be able to still compete, or did you think you'd have to use a wheelchair when you got to high school?
I've been offered a wheelchair before, but I knew that I had blades and I was able to run. So yeah, I've never actually ridden in a wheelchair before, but I've had the option. But no, in junior high, I definitely didn't think I was going to be able to race at state. When I came to high school, I thought I maybe had the option, because I knew it wasn't a thing yet, but I thought that maybe at least by my senior year I could have it open and have a chance at it. But I didn't know it was going to be so soon. Junior high, I was clueless, and I went to state track for junior high, but for regular. So I didn't even think about ambulatory or para up until high school, and it just was never a thought in my mind. And I mean, I'm so happy that it happened.
Were you a part of that process? I mean, talking to the state association, I mean, have they made this for you pretty much?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, definitely last year is when we tried to open the idea of an ambulatory race, and that's when we tried to get it first to happen. It was a little complicated at first, so it didn't obviously happen. But no, me, my parents, and my coaches, and then our athletic director, BJ, we were all pushing with emails and everything to try to get the state to even think about having ambulatory races in there. So I know it definitely just wasn't me. It was a mix of people who helped me have this open.
Yeah, was that a difficult process, or did the state seem open to it, to offering events for you?
Yeah, they were definitely open to it. I think it was just a matter of fact of how do we do it, because we're such a different community and we do things so differently. I think they're just like, what do you guys need and what can we do this year? And if we can't do that this year, we're definitely gonna try for next year. And I think there's just so many things about us that are different, because we are very different from wheelchair athletes. We just decided to skip freshman year and go and try to move it for sophomore year. And I wouldn't necessarily say they opened it for me, but just like I definitely think West kind of helped push them to make it a thing, but they definitely just try to do it for all the para community.
Have you been in touch with, I mean, I know that you had another racer from Davenport out there with you for a few of your races. Have you been able to interact with any other students or athletes around Iowa who you might be able to compete with again next year, or who you're trying to kind of recruit to compete on the athletic stage?
Well, I mean, Allie, who is a wheelchair racer who I raced against, I swim with her actually. Oh. So we swam for a state title for swim. And we had another friend. She has a little bit more trouble right now, so I was gonna try to convince her this year, but she's having a little trouble right now with her disability. So I was gonna wait for the next year to try to convince her to come, because obviously I am not here for the state title. I'm just here to try to open the possibility that para is a thing, and that it's not uncomfortable to do, and that it's an amazing experience, and that they should all try it. And but yeah, I'm definitely trying to get to know more para athletes. I mean, it's so difficult because if there is any para athletes, they're a little nervous to the idea of this. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's nerve-wracking and it's crazy. So I'm trying to get a hold of more para athletes. I mean, that's the whole point of me doing any of these interviews, is so they see these and their parents hopefully are looking at these and like, hey, look at this, you see this girl? You should go out for this next year, and that's really the hope of this.
What's your pitch to them? I mean, if somebody that is has a similar disability maybe to you, what would your pitch be to them of some of the benefits to doing either track or lacrosse or soccer or whatever the event might be?
I mean, honestly, they shouldn't have to feel like they aren't a normal kid just because they look a little bit different. I mean, I think that's such a big thing in the disability world, is that we think we're just so different from any other kid and that we just can't do anything, which is just so not true. I mean, look at me. I mean, so many people underestimate me, and I do absolutely everything to prove them wrong. And I just think that they should just think that they're a normal kid, and that they are, and that they should just be able to have fun and enjoy their high school experience and even their junior high experience, and just be able to be a kid.
Is that something that you still struggle with ever? I mean, you seem like very confident in yourself, so I don't know if that's something that is maybe more in your past, or is that something that still you struggle with sometimes?
I mean, obviously I still struggle with sometimes. I mean, this world is so, like, it's so new. I mean, for us, it's so new to be out here. I mean, this was such a new experience, and I think this past weekend, I definitely struggled with it a little bit. I mean, it took definitely a little bit of it took a lot of mental strength to run this past weekend, because I was just like, oh my goodness, I'm running by myself in front of thousands and thousands of people. What if I do a bad job? What if I don't represent us good enough? Like, it's just a thing of, like, I mean, I want to make other para people proud, and sometimes I think I'm not good enough to represent, and I mean, it can take a lot, but I definitely, I have so many people who are like, Hannah, that's not true. You are amazing, and look at you. And I mean, I push myself, and I push all my friends who have disabilities who also do the same thing as me, and just tell them that, I mean, look at where we are versus where we were as little kids. Look at this world. I mean, back then they didn't even have wheelchair races, and now they do. Back then they didn't even have ambulatory races, and now they do. I mean, we have changed so much, and we're just gonna change so much more in the future. I mean, this is gonna be, I'm hoping that when I'm old and there are so many more athletes, that it will be full of heats of ambulatory athletes and wheelchair racers.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we've seen with the wheelchair races, especially. I kept telling everybody, you know, when I was in high school back in the early 2000s, we would have maybe 4 or 5 wheelchair races out there. And now, you know, we have to break it up into 2 heats. There's so many wheelchair athletes, especially, at least on the boys' side, you have to break it up into 2 heats to fit all the guys out there. Is that what you're hoping is the legacy that maybe you leave behind now too, that you're just the starting point for other para athletes too?
Definitely. I mean, that's like the whole thing for me and my mom especially. It's like, I have a little brother who has no arms, and I just want him to see that this is something he can do, and that I know that people are gonna give us crap about what we do, and people are gonna be like, oh, you can't do that, why are you doing this? But you just gotta push yourself, and you just gotta know that people don't mean what they say. They just think behind what they see, and not think about what we can actually do. And I just hope that in the future there will be several heats, several races. I mean, the stands are gonna be full of people cheering us on, and I mean, I just hope that this isn't even like something new. This is something, oh, this is old news, look at all these people, what? And I mean, that's definitely the hope for the para world in Iowa.
How old is your brother?
He is 14.
Okay. Has that been a motivation for you at all, like throughout your athletics history, that you wanted to try to be something of a motivation, maybe, I don't know, equally for the para community as for him personally, or maybe more so him than the para community? I don't know what you'd have to say about that. Definitely both.
I think when I was a little kid growing up, I think that I didn't know very many people with disabilities when I was a little kid as much as he does. I didn't start going to camps till I was older, so I grew up just kind of by myself, being the only person with disabilities like me, and I had no motivation. I wanted to hide my disability. I never wanted to show anybody who I really was, and I don't want to see him or anybody else growing up to be that way, because I feel like they should really just be who they are and just show and be proud of what they're given and what amazing talents they can have. Because, I mean, we might have a disability, but nothing is stopping us from being an amazing superstar that we could be.
You know, there's been a lot of talk, especially around Iowa City the last year with Caitlin Clark being here. You know, people call her a trailblazer a lot, but there's being a trailblazer like Caitlin, and then there's creating new sports for somebody like you in the state of Iowa. Is that how you feel? Do you feel at all like a trailblazer in Iowa?
A little bit. I mean, I still got to think about that some states don't even allow this stuff to happen. I mean, so I have some friends who are having trouble in different states trying to even have the idea of having wheelchair and ambulatory races. So I think it's amazing that I and my family and my coaches were able to open this and to even have a chance to run at state, because it's harder to do that in some of the other states, to convince the state to allow them to have this. And I mean, I think it's just so different. I mean, I've had this a lot where people are like, I mean, Caitlin Clark is like that. And she's an amazing person, and I think she's an amazing woman to be for girls. And I just hope that I'm that way, but for people with disabilities, both boys and girls. But one day, I just hope that, I mean, I was that little girl who looked up to other people with disabilities, and now I am that person that little boys and girls look up to with the disability. So yeah.
Have you ever met Caitlin?
No, I have not. I mean, I've definitely heard about her a lot. My family's a fan of her. I don't watch so much basketball, and I haven't seen her play in person, but I've seen her play on the screens and stuff. But I think she's a pretty cool person. And I think she would be an amazing person to meet one day, just to ask her about her experience, about being an inspiration, especially just to regular girls and boys, and getting to know her on a different level than just being a fan, because I think even though we're so different and we're in such different sports, I think in some ways we do share similar experiences, and yeah.
You've got a lot of goals in life, it sounds like.
Oh, yeah.
Both in the immediate short term and in the long term. Is there any one thing that you could identify as like maybe your chief, your biggest, your main goal that you have in life?
I would definitely say the Paralympics are my biggest goal. It takes a lot. I mean, I think a lot of people think that it's easy to go into the Paralympics because it makes such a big wall between the Paralympics and Olympics, when truly they're the same exact thing, just different people running it. And I mean, my biggest goal is to get there one day, and to try to make goals, and to make more goals, to make some times that I never thought that I could make, and just to be there for the experience, because I've heard that it is amazing. Because I know people and I have friends who have been in the Paralympics and Olympics, and they say it's such an amazing experience, and one day I want to be out there and be like, wow, I can't believe I started out in junior high and when I was just 10 years old, and now I am here.
Do you ever think about, I mean, I was kind of looking at your times just from the state meet, and I was comparing them to just other runners, and it's like, you know, some of your 100 and 200 times could beat, you know, a handful of other runners around the state, you know, that are able-bodied. Would you ever want to compete in non-para races, or do you ever do that?
Yeah, during season I do compete against able-bodied people, and I have been. When I was in junior high, I was able to. Junior high was a little bit easier. I did destroy people, but I actually cared a lot about the sport, unlike some junior high kids. Sure. But yeah, I think it's a very different experience to race against able-bodied people, because you're like, in my mind, it's like we're equal, but in their mind, it's like I either have a disadvantage or advantage, just depending from the team and how much they beat me or how much I beat them. But I mean, either way, I think that racing against an able-bodied person versus a person with a disability, I think it's pretty much equal for me. because I'm usually put in a race with similar times, and I do think I can run such faster times. I think it was just a very hot weekend. But yeah, I think I have more in me, and one day I am hoping to run just as fast as a time as anybody else who can run at state.
So state wasn't even your best times? That wasn't your best performance, you didn't feel like?
No.
Okay, I didn't realize.
No, it was a hot weekend, and I mean, I just was constantly going up and down, but I know I have a lot more in me than that.
Do you know your the one young lady who was with you in a few of the events? Do you know her at all, or have you had a chance to compete against her in other races?
I raced against her at state qualifiers in state, but that's about it. I actually had never seen her in my life before that. I mean, she was just such a wonderful competitor. I definitely think she wasn't as represented well enough. Like, I mean, she is visually impaired, and I think that it almost, like, when we were at state, I finished, and of course people were clapping, but then when she wasn't finished yet, people gave her a standing ovation, and I'm just like, I mean, we're not really different. I mean, I don't get why you guys should still clap, and why there's a need for a standing ovation just because she's finishing second. I mean, I think that she's an amazing runner, and she's an amazing person to be out there and even try this because it's so tough. And she was the sweetest person ever, and I hope she's out there next year. I mean, like I said, I've never met her before this, so I don't really know what grade she's in or anything like that. But if she's not a senior, which I don't think she was, I hope she's back out there with me next year and racing with me.
I've had a chance to talk and do some stories in the past with wheelchair athletes, and they talk about the crowd there, especially at the state meet, or even other meets too, just like, you know, cheering them and clapping them all the way around the track. What does that mean to you when you hear them, you know, cheering for you all the way as you go around the track for, you know, 400, 800, 200, whatever?
That, I think, was something that really got into my head, because I think for me, it's like, oh, they're almost pitying me, just because, like, if you think about it, like, if I was racing against a regular athlete, like one of their kids or something, they wouldn't be cheering for me, they'd be cheering for their own kid, right? But I mean, I definitely think I have to look at it from a different perspective. I think it's very much, there's definitely going to be people out there who are going to pity me and people who are going to hate on me, but then there are definitely people who are going, wow, she's amazing. Like, I truly think that she is amazing for doing this, because I could never do this. And there are definitely people who just let me know that, and that is so awesome of them, because I really do appreciate that, because it lets me know that I really am making a difference, and I'm not out there just being pitied and being hated on, and that I'm out there inspiring others and, like, just wowing people.
Covered a lot of ground here.
Yes.
No pun intended. Is there anything else you want to say, or anything else you'd like to say on camera, or that we didn't talk about that you feel like we should discuss?
Not really. I just want to give, like, a huge shout out to, like, my family and coaches, because truly they have done so much for me, more than anybody can know behind the scenes. I mean, like, they have been with me from the start, especially Parker. Parker has been with me since I was 10, and he has guided me this season, and he has done absolutely everything he could for me, and I appreciate it so deeply, because I have had people who just leave me there standing and don't care about me, and he truly has done the works, and I appreciate that so much. And yeah.
That's perfect. Did a great job. Thank you so much. If it's all right, I don't know, do you have your... I'd like to get video of you putting your blades on, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
I can...
I see you, get up. That stuff hurt.
I was singing that about halfway through. I'm like, that stuff probably is getting hot down there.
Oh yeah, it wasn't hot, it just hurts. It's like spiky.
Here, we can keep that on, actually,
okay,
if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Okay.
Walk around you with the camera here. Yeah, so just kind of walk me through your process of you putting them on, while you're doing it, if you don't mind.
Yes, just gotta brace myself, sit back on this thing. Okay, so you just want me to walk you through how I do it?
Yeah,
okay.
as you're doing it here, yeah.
Cool.